A classic example of my klutzy ineptitude was learning to ride a bike. I didn't learn to ride a bike until pretty late, on our block anyway. Most of the kids seemed to come by it naturally. I must have been 7 or 8. I was frightened of the darn things. I'd seen my brother's numerous scrapes and cuts, and besides, with 5 kids, of which I was 4th down the line, my folks didn't have the money for a bicycle, nor the time to teach me to ride. But Jeannie Rogers could ride, and I was always embarrassed when the other kids would ask us to go on one of their excursions, and I couldn't go. Jeannie's sister, Myra, had a bike, which Jeannie always offered to me, so that solved the problem of not having a bike. But after telling her, "No, but you go ahead," I would watch longingly as they all rode off down the street. I became determined to learn to ride. But I knew if the other kids saw me goofing up and falling, I was leaving myself wide open to even more of their jaunts and jeers, like they needed a reason. So in the middle of the night, every night, for a week, I snuck out of my bedroom window, and I stole off down the street to this one boy's house, who I knew habitually left his bike out on his lawn. I'd heard his father holler at him continuously for this offense. It was a little too big for me, but I found that if I stood on the curb and mounted it, I could practice balancing it, catching it when it was tipping over, by quickly putting the foot down on the curb, again to steady me. Occasionally it would go falling the opposite way, and I in turn would go sprawling across the cement, but I would get up with grim-faced determination and try again. The first night I practiced only balance. Then all week during my clandestine self-tutorship, I added some new aspect of bike riding. After balance, I tried forward motion, still maintaining my proximity to the safety net of the curb. Once mobile going straight, I began adding turns. At first they were wide, slow, and awkward, and several times they sent me flying over the handlebars as I hit the curb on the other side of the street, or a bump, or a rock. I scraped and re-scraped elbows and knees, until finally I could ride the entire length of the street, smoothly, with nary a fall. My parents never asked about my numerous new wounds, because, like I said, I was a klutzy kid. I waited and never told anyone, not even Jeannie, that I'd learned to ride. Then one day, Jeannie and the other kids were going riding, and she started to go off with them, without me, as usual. But I grabbed her arm and said, "Hey, can I come?" She looked at me with surprise, but helped me get Myra's bike down from the hangers in the garage. She glanced at me once, as if to ask, "Are you sure?" And I nodded. I got on the bike and waited, one foot down as she readied hers. Then together, for the first time, we rode, hair flying, down the driveway. The look on the other kids' faces was delicious, and we both laughed loudly all the way down the block. Jeannie never asked me how I'd managed to learn to ride, with no one seeing me. She knew my red-headed stubbornness better than anyone.